When the M5 MacBook Air came out, I was really impressed with it because of the value Apple was able to pack into this computer. It's basically the MacBook Pro killer if you don't care about the display. Unfortunately, over the last few months, Apple has raised the prices of the M5 MacBook Air, which kind of gets in the way of its perfect status. So in this video, we're going to talk about my thoughts on this computer after using it since March, the things that I've loved about it, as well as the price hike to decide if you should still get this or if it's worth looking into a different option instead. The first thing I've noticed about the Air is this thing is durable. So even after taking it out and about for the last few months, there's no discoloration or dents or any issues I've run into with it. I have noticed the sky blue color can show fingerprints a little bit worse than the silver color does, but it's not near as bad as midnight. And I still think sky blue looks really cool because it's mostly silver, but with just a little bit of color to it. And like all the other MacBooks, this thing just screams quality. So the hinge on it still feels super smooth to open the computer up. Love the keyboard on it. The trackpad as well just works flawlessly. So everything with this computer still just works basically like day one. And I really recommend if you get one of these computers, just keep your hands clean with it. The less oil you get on the keyboard, the better, because that's going to keep it looking nice and fresh. I've been using a lot more apps on the MacBook Air the last few months, like Slack. I use Safari a lot. I've been messing with Notion quite a bit. Claude. I also run a lot of Apple reminders, Apple Notes. I do some video editing on this as well. And this is able to handle any of the applications that I run on it just fine. I love how lightweight this is and the fact that it can run anything without slowing down. Personally, I got the base model, which has 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD. My biggest regret with this computer is I should have spent a little bit more money to get 24 gigabytes, because the more these apps like Slack and messages you run in the background of the computer, the more it's going to slow down and get bogged down whenever you're switching tasks back and forth, because there's just so many background tasks running in Mac OS now. So my biggest recommendation with the MacBook Air would have to be spending a little bit more money to get the 24 gigabytes, especially with the price increases. But we'll get to talking about that a little bit more in a bit. One thing that's been annoying to me about the Air, though, is it's got that fanless design, so of course you don't have to listen to any volume. But sometimes I did notice the computer getting hot, especially when I used it outside. If you do any sort of video editing on it, it will start to get hot. And if you're using it without an external keyboard or mouse, your hands will start to get a little bit hot with it. So if you're planning on using it for more intensive tasks, personally, I recommend using it on a desktop, not on your lap, and use it with some sort of external keyboard and mouse, and that'll just make it a little bit more comfortable to use. I've done quite a bit of video editing with this too, and for typical rough cutting or general Final Cut Pro based editing, this computer does just fine. But if you're doing heavier timelines and if you've got longer exports, then I still prefer a computer that has at least the M5 Pro or an M5 Max chip on it, because your export speed gets a lot faster and it just does a better job at playing back the multicam clips. But the MacBook Air is still a really great option if you're on the go and you want something lightweight that you can really count on. And it does a great job at allowing me to cut my videos up, and you can always put B-roll on top, and really anything on this channel could be done with the MacBook Air. It still is able to handle it just fine, which is amazing for a computer of this size. The display is the main thing people gripe on with the MacBook Air, because it's still stuck at 60 Hertz and it tops out at 500 nits of brightness, which isn't a huge deal for me. Even inside, using it with all my bright studio lights on, I'm still able to see the display just fine. But I've been using it outside a little bit more with the weather being so nice recently, and the screen on it sometimes is just barely bright enough outside, or you kind of got to reposition the computer and adjust the angle of the screen. So that's one of the areas where I would prefer to use the Pro if I was using it outdoors a lot. But at the same time, the size of the Air really lends itself well to moving it around and taking it outside. So I think that's a trade-off that you make with the Air. The biggest drawback to this computer now, though, is the price increases, because it already got a little bit more expensive this year since they started it out with a 512 gigabyte SSD, but Apple has raised the price across the board by a minimum of $200. And if you add more RAM or more storage, the price on it gets even higher. So now to get this computer with 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 512 gigabyte SSD, it's $1,300. If you bump it up to 24 gigs, it gets close to about $1,500. And if you buy the 1 terabyte version with 16 gigs of RAM, it's $1,600, which is a lot to spend on a MacBook Air. On the flip side, the MacBook Pros also got more expensive, and even the base model M5 MacBook Pro now starts at $2,000, and that one does come with 16 gigabytes of RAM, but it has a 1TB SSD on it. So I would say the MacBook Pro is worth spending a little bit more on if you want to get that 1TB SSD built into it, if you need the brighter screen, the extra port, and if you want the single fan on it. That's a great computer. The M5 Pro is my personal favorite MacBook Pro to buy, though. I think it's a great match of price and the value you get out of it. So spending $1,300 to $1,500 to get an Air is definitely a tough pill to swallow, but it's still gonna be significantly cheaper than getting a MacBook Pro. The biggest drawback to this price increase, though, is that Apple hasn't given any other reasons to buy this computer. I know there's a lot of people upset with Apple for raising the prices. I see why they did it, because the storage and RAM chips have gone up significantly for them. None of us know the exact profit margins Apple's trying to have with the MacBook Air, though. But it's just a tough pill to swallow, spending $1,300 to $1,500 for the Air. My personal recommendation is never buy one of these full price from Apple. It's just not quite worth spending that $1,300 to $1,500 base price on it, unless you're really in a pinch and you need a computer right away. There's better ways to buy the MacBook, including Apple's refurbished store, as well as B&H usually has great deals running. Best Buy and Amazon also almost always have better prices available on the Air. Be sure to check links in the description below for my personal favorite places to buy Mac computers. I've also got to say, buying a computer like this for $1,300 that's still stuck at 60 hertz and with less brightness and contrast than the MacBook Pro definitely feels like a bit of a slap in the face, because Apple's just using the same exact display with the Air that they've been using for years. And it doesn't bother me. I can look at this display for hours. I love using this computer for typing, sending emails, on-the-go work. It just handles everything so well. But compared to the nicer displays on things like the iPad Pro, the MacBook Pro, you will notice a difference. So personally, I love the MacBook Air, and I still think this is the computer that most people should buy. If you're still confused even after watching this video and you need help picking out a computer, be sure to check my website out. I got a form you can fill out and I'll give you personalized Mac buying advice. The real question people keep asking me, though, is should they buy the MacBook Air in the middle of 2026? Because Apple is kind of on year 3 of this design with the MagSafe port on the side and with this exact keyboard layout, the display, and just the same feel of the computer overall. The question people keep asking is, will Apple upgrade the display for the newer models? My gut feeling is no. I don't think Apple's going to change anything with the Air for a long time, because people keep saying they need to put OLED or mini LED on it. They still haven't done this with the Pro yet, and if Apple does release this new MacBook Ultra at the end of the year, I don't see them upgrading the Air as well, and the MacBook Ultra is going to be significantly more expensive than the MacBook Air. So if you're just looking for a solid computer that can handle any application, that's going to be solid, portable, the MacBook Air is still going to be a great option for you, and I highly doubt if Apple puts any of these crazy upgrades in this until at least a few years after this new upgraded MacBook Pro or Ultra model. So for most people who are looking for a computer today, I say buy the Air. Even with the price increase, just make sure you can get it on sale, because with sale prices, you can get it pretty close to what the old base price was. If you're thinking about upgrading, I would say the 24 gigabyte upgrade is worth considering, although that might put it out of your budget. The nice thing about 24 gigabytes of RAM, though, is it'll be better for multitasking, and as we continue to see Mac OS getting heavier and heavier as the years go on, that'll allow you to keep the Air for longer, because the Air is already a great 5 to 7 year computer, so why not spend an extra $200 to get a little bit more RAM to make it an even better computer for you to use. The Air might not be enough for you, though, if you're worried about the contrast and the lack of brightness on the screen compared to the Pro. If you're going to be using it outside a lot or in areas with a lot of natural light, you might consider shelling out a little bit more money for the Pro. If you want to save a little bit of money, you could consider buying the Neo, but I'm not a huge fan of the MacBook Neo because it's only got 8 gigabytes of RAM. Personally, I felt like the MacBook Air just runs and feels way faster and smoother, even for day-to-day use. So if you're using the computer all day, every day, it's worth spending the extra money on the MacBook Air over the MacBook Neo. But if you're really just looking to buy a computer, just to have a computer laying around so you can print stuff and do stuff on the computer that's kind of annoying to do on a phone or an iPad, the MacBook Neo is still a great option for you. If you're trying to decide about buying the MacBook Air today, I would say this is as good of a time as ever to buy it. Technically, it's not the best value it's ever been. The price hike still hurts, and it's frustrating that even with the sale prices, we're basically just getting back to the price that it was a couple of months ago. But at the end of the day, the MacBook Air is a solid computer This is the computer I personally reach for every day. If I'm taking a computer anywhere or if I'm gonna be working on a laptop, I want the Air. I don't care about the Pro, and I really don't mess with the Neo much because the MacBook Air really is that nice. If Apple does happen to release an updated M6 or M7 model of the MacBook Air and it has features that are gonna change the game for you, then buying now is still not a bad option because there's a consistent demand for the MacBook Air. It's just been a solid, really well selling and reselling computer over the years, so I don't think you'd have any problem flipping it to get the newer computer. And the price increase on these means that it should hold the value for longer as well. So at the end of the day, the MacBook Air is still an awesome computer for anyone who's looking for an ultimate portable laptop. If you need a little bit more screen real estate, if you're doing a lot with spreadsheets or documents, or if you're working with large timelines on video editing software, or even some light audio recording, I would say go for the 15-inch instead, because that's gonna give you extra space to view all the different windows on your computer. You can also always get an external monitor, run that with the MacBook Air as well. If you're interested in buying this computer, I got links to buy it in the description below. And if you're thinking about buying a MacBook, but you're not sure if the Air is the right model for you, I got a link in the description where you can go to my website, fill out a form, and I'll give you personalized Mac buying advice. Like this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any upcoming content.